Hello, everybody. Here we are. The topic tonight is Ferrari. So that's why I'm wearing my Ferrari shirt, the cheap one. And, oh, let's turn this sound off. Yes. Christina is here. Outlaw's here. Live My Life is here. And there's Inge. Inge is not watching darts. There's Ivan. It's going well. Great day for motorsports today. Parkour, baby. Who the hell is Parkour, baby? And there's Tanveer. So nice of you to make it as well. Yeah, so after last week's race, Hamilton accidentally not giving the position back to Leclerc. There were a few comments. Then there was lots of arguing on Twitter, and I thought this might be a good occasion to talk about it on a live stream. Hello, hacker. Thank you for joining. Because it's a long time coming that Hamilton and Leclerc are gonna have some trouble. I think they've been pretty nice to each other all year round, although there were some issues that I've looked up. Hi, Samantha. Yeah, there were a few issues that that I found with the help of Grok, because I use AI sometimes to find the articles quicker, and yeah, that helps me. Let me turn this on as well. September geeft werelds nummer. Hacker says, just want everyone to know, never give Max anything which can win, because the man is a demon. I think that's what you meant. Hey, Hank. Oh, you're rewatching the. You're watching the live stream of the Nordschleife race now, Hank. Yeah. Nice. Oh, Samantha's gonna get some tea. Yeah. So I've got a few bits that I've gathered, and I'll just rant for a bit, and then maybe when we have like 20 minutes left or so, we can chat about all kinds of stuff. Okay, so here's the image. Oh wait, it's on the wrong one, I think. Yeah, that's the last one. Okay. No, so yeah, I think Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, they've been pretty nice to each other so far. I have a feeling that Charles Leclerc preferred to have kept Carlos Sainz in that team, because even though Sainz and Leclerc fought very hard with each other, off track they were really good friends, and you saw that after Baku when both of them flew together, and then I think there was some problems at the airport, and they had to drive from France to Monaco or something, or they were in Italy and they had to drive to France. I don't know, but the two of them were in a tunnel in a van. It looked a bit like where I was on holiday, but yeah, all these places look the same, obviously. But yeah, the Carlos and Charles, they got along famously, and I don't think the vibe between Lewis and Charles is the same. Um, but yeah, we'll talk about that with the bits of clips that I've gathered. Hey, there's Red Bull baby. Red Bull baby. He or she found me on Twitter, and yeah, I think I think this person is gonna be a loyal follower because yeah, they're here now in my live stream as well. Nice. Oh, and Inge is happy that Hank is back. We all are, Hank. We're all happy that you're back. It's not the same without you. Okay, so let's go to the slideshow now. What I did here was ask for things that Lewis Hamilton has said that were negative towards either Ferrari or Charles Leclerc. So in one of the interviews, Lewis Hamilton implied that his side of the garage is underperforming compared to Charles Leclerc. He said, Mercedes was faster than us, which is why you saw them so close to Charles. Yeah, in that race, Hamilton finished 7th, and he was 13 seconds behind Leclerc in 4th. And he demanded that Ferrari would get improvements because his car had a disadvantage. And then on the 1st of July at the Austrian Grand Prix, he expressed unhappiness with Ferrari pitting him late while chasing Leclerc, suggesting differing priorities for the 2026 car. Leclerc and Hamilton might want different things out of the successor of the SF25. So yeah, Ferrari is already doing kinds of tests for the 2026 season, and perhaps Hamilton wants to go left and Leclerc wants to go right, and Hamilton is already kind of moaning about that. So yeah, it was a post-race comment to Motorsport, and it highlighted the tension over strategy favoring a straightforward points haul over aggressive moves. Then on the 4th of August at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton was very down, and he suggested that Ferrari should change the driver, which he meant himself, after being eliminated in Q2 while Leclerc took pole. When you are a 7-time world champion, your teammate is on pole position and you're out in Q2. That's a tough situation. Yeah, that was a bit dramatic, which Lewis Hamilton does sometimes to get sympathy. And then, not so long ago, on the 22nd of September, after Baku, he made a sarcastic comment. He said, I'm really sorry you have to drive for Ferrari, Charles. Now, this was something that I was attributed to Hamilton in Reddit, on a Reddit discussion. So I haven't heard this myself. Right, so let's take this down. So yeah, Hamilton is saying that there was stuff on Leclerc's car which wasn't on his car. Then there's things that are being changed for next season that he doesn't agree with. So if he doesn't do well next season, then it's probably because they went the direction of Charles Leclerc instead of him. So he's got that covered. Then when he has a really bad weekend, he goes over the top dramatic. So people sympathize with him, and that's all they talk about, how low he was, instead of talking about how bad his performance was. And then the fourth thing was that a top driver doesn't give up positions. You'll take a free position, yeah, because you think you're worth it, but you're not giving it back. But he knew there would be repercussions if he refused to give the position back, a bit like Max did in Brazil. So he slowed down a little too late to make it look like he tried, and then Leclerc didn't overtake him. And yeah, like in the head-to-head, it's actually one position or one score that he has on Leclerc now, even though it's still he's still quite a bit behind. Right. Let me see how the chat's going. Okay, so you're all talking about the NLS 9. I think we'll talk about it after the Ferrari bit. Only the vibes between Lewis and Valtteri were good in one way. Yeah, that's because Valtteri did everything that Lewis wanted. And there's Polish Eddie. On time. Good man. And he says, hey, I'm here. Max is a beast. Yes, we know this. And everybody's saying hi to each other, which I like as well. Tanveer says, fundamentally, Leclerc wants front end and Hamilton wants rear end grip. And he says, that's the fundamental difference between Leclerc and Hamilton's car. Okay. Ivan says, I assume a real 16 versus 44 war may happen only in case Ferrari is competitive enough to fight for a title. Unlikely for now. Well, I think at this stage, if the two drivers can go for a win together or a podium together, they'll fight like fuck. Because, you know, they're both craving it. You know, and Leclerc is the only driver who, as they quoted sometimes, can match Max's freak when it comes to fighting on track. I like that expression because there's a reel on Instagram, and there's a song called Match My Freak, and it's got that song and an ABBA song mixed together, and it's Charles Leclerc fighting. Talking about how he's the only one that can match Max's freak when it comes to hard racing. And I don't know why, but I really, really like that that short video. And I'll see if I can find it, and I'll drop it on my community post so we can all see it. Okay. Christina, who's a very big Ferrari supporter, says, I am curious about which direction Ferrari will go. Leclerc's pointy front way or Hamilton's strong rear way. According to rumors, Ferrari will be nowhere anyway. Yeah, well, I want to address these rumors. Apparently, it was Toto Wolff, or from the Mercedes side, throwing that out there to prevent more people going to Ferrari because they're going to be shit and nobody wants to work there then. So yeah, like all the engine stories, I don't believe them until I see them on track and the specialists are saying, "Oh wow, this car is much slower than the other one because of the engine." Um, like if I have to listen to all the stories, then Mercedes are going to be miles ahead, and I don't believe that's going to happen. So yeah, but it's interesting because I actually didn't know Hamilton wanted so much grip at the rear because his driving style is um, late braking and really hard. So don't you need front end for that as well? But yeah, this is race technical stuff, and I don't know much about that, to be honest. Um, Hacker says, "Hey, I've seen this before. It's almost like I have seen this in McLaren, Mark, and now Ferrari." Right. Um, Hank says Hamilton did know exactly what he did. I also think that he didn't give the position up on purpose. Like I think he raced in Baku 15 times. He knows where the finish line is. And Lewis is not that young, even comparing to the times with Nico. Also true. Red Bull Baby says, no disrespect, but Ham's always known how to pander and stir. At Ferrari, the shine's gone, the grind's real, and his Mercedes status vanished. Should have retired there. Yeah. But yeah, he's in this project now, and he's going to be an ambassador for Ferrari. So he's going to see it out for another year, and then he'll vanish. I hope. Hey, Gentiles, I forgot to say hi to you. Hello, Richard. Super duper that you're here. Okay, Polish Eddie, I'll try to read out the comments that I'm reacting to, so you know what we're talking about. Okay. Hank says engine rumors are sketchy at best. And there's Natasha. Hello, Natasha. Yeah, people, don't forget to like this stream. Hacker says Merc may have the best engine, but will their engine last an entire weekend? Yeah, it's all to be seen. And Tanvir says even if Mercs are miles ahead of engine, Ferrari and Red Bull will catch up as there's no engine freeze. Christina says this Ferrari rumor was said by Joseph Kral, a Czech GP2 driver for Ferrari in Czech podcast, who learned it from some Maranello insiders doing a race in Spa. Oof, that's rough. If it's coming from the inside the call, then it might be true. Okay, let's go to the next slideshow. Okay, so this is what Charles Leclerc said about Hamilton and Ferrari. So Charles Leclerc rejected Ferrari's overconfident claims, attributing hype to Hamilton's arrival. He said there was a lot of hype around the team, mostly because Lewis joining the team was a big thing. Lots of hopes as well. So what he tried to say here was that he's downplaying the internal expectations, but the external pressure from Hamilton signing contributed to scrutiny on Ferrari's underperformance. I want to dive into this. Now, there's always kind of hype around Ferrari, but because Lewis Hamilton joined there, it brought TeamLH over to Ferrari, and it brought Sky Sports F1 over to Ferrari, and the race, and all the British outlets, and they were all posting articles before the season started about how Hamilton was joining Ferrari at the best time possible, because they were, second in the constructors, and this was going well, and this was going well, and this was going well, and oh my god, yeah, Lewis was going to get his eighth, and it was going to be tough on Charles Leclerc. I was the one that started making videos right there and then saying that Lewis Hamilton was going to be nowhere because it's a different culture. The strategy is wishy-washy. Charles Leclerc is embedded in that team and he's younger and better. And I listed all these things. But yeah, you know, we're about, how many races are we in now? 17 races in. And it's clear that Hamilton, is not good enough to beat Charles Leclerc. And then the scrutiny from outside is starting to happen. Like, oh, Ferrari are a dog shit team because they can't do this and they can't do that, and they're doing this wrong and they're doing that wrong. Now, and I have to agree that I never understood why they had to change the good car they had last season for 99% to what they have now. Like, I would have understood it if they'd done this in 2022 or in 2023. Yeah. But not the last year before a new regulation sets in. I think they should have improved all the, like, refined the car, refine it, make little things better, and yeah. Because now they basically started back to square one, and there's all kinds of new issues, and that's something they shouldn't have done. And Charles Leclerc is a victim now of Ferrari overhauling the whole car to cater to Lewis Hamilton. So I understand why Charles is not happy. Okay. On the 21st of September, which was after the Baku Grand Prix, or during, he said that the failed swap was stupid and not fair. And he added sarcastically, he can enjoy that P8. I don't care. And that was after Hamilton crossed the line ahead. This all came out in an unreleased radio message. And it showed the irritation when Hamilton didn't yield the position despite slowing late. And then on the same day after the race, he said, maybe those rules were not respected. If we are fighting for sexier positions, then I hope that we will work in a different way. Which I understand as well. Like, there's no point in making a massive, huge fuss over a P8 and a P9. But yeah, the principle is that Lewis Hamilton is still a fighter, even though it's not going so well for him, and he's obviously not going to give up a position that he probably would have got if he stayed behind Leclerc for I don't know how many laps and then overtook him. Then again, it could have gotten spicy if Leclerc and Hamilton had fought for those positions till the end, which is something I would have loved to see. Okay, let's get rid of this poll. Ah, 24 votes. 67% of you watched it. Nice. Okay, let me go back to the... Oh, no, I wanted to say something. So yeah, Charles Leclerc, I can imagine that he's frustrated, and I haven't seen him complain too much. As you see, there's only like 3 points that Grok could find about what Leclerc said about Lewis Hamilton. But he Charles has always been kind of good at just going with the flow and keeping things internal. Although he had a few radios that were quite out there as well. But yeah, what you hear now from a lot of Charles Leclerc fans is that he maybe should look elsewhere if he wants to be a world champion, which is something that I could never imagine, you know, because Charles and Ferrari are born for each other, like, so to speak. Um, but yeah, I think Charles Leclerc is just, you know, waiting for Lewis Hamilton retire, and then he'll have his own, he'll have his own team back, and they can start building again. Um, it, he's seen a lot. Charles Leclerc has seen a lot at Ferrari, like a couple of team principals and a world champion, a 4-time world champion that he beat, and then he was dropped, and then a friend in that second seat who was dropped, and then Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, in the second seat, and yeah, uh, he's still winning the head-to-head and race head-to-head. So yeah, Leclerc's not worried about that. Okay, let's go to the chat. Hank says Wimbo was right. I don't hear that very often. Ferrari accommodated for Hamilton. And Tanver says, I mean, they didn't change the car. At least Charles would be in a title fight. Yeah, I get that. Christina says, Ferrari just doing Ferrari things. And Christina says, I and a lot of Tifosi want Charles gone. I just said that. Ivan says, Ferrari is repeating their record for longest titleless streak. And it is actually Luca Di Montezemolo to blame. He prevented Ross Brawn from taking the team manager in 2008. That's so stupid. If you know what Ross Brawn did for Formula One and what he did for Ferrari with Michael Schumacher, then obviously if you upgrade him to what he wants, then you can keep on winning. Hacker says the reason why Ferrari almost changed the cars every year is how the main company Ferrari allocates funds post cost cap. If they're making brand new cars, they allocate the maximum amount. Oh, I didn't know that. And Red Bull Baby says, well, apparently Hamilton is putting his DNA in the 2026 car. Ew. And Hank says Leclerc won't win a world title at Ferrari. Okay. Hacker says also the best engineers keep leaving, and people in the background who are important also keep leaving, so it's hard to maintain a development pipeline for a season's car. That's true. And Hank says Charles Leclerc is a well-raised bloke, always shielding the team in public. Yeah, the last time Charles Leclerc wanted to say something in public, Mattia Binotto stood in front of him saying, you are gonna keep your mouth shut. Which was a great picture. Outlaw says, some say Lewis is being sabotaged. Same was at Mercedes when he lost to Russell. I see a pattern. Yes, I see a pattern too. TeamLH is nuts. Red Bull Baby says, remember when he was sabotaged in McLaren as well, when he posted the telemetry on Twitter? Yep. That was against Button. I hope Leclerc stays and wins the title for Ferrari. I can live with that, Outlaw. Definitely. And Gentili says the pattern of no accountability, always someone else's fault. Even when Rosberg was his teammate, TeamLH was claiming there was sabotage. Yeah. Oh dear. Well, talking about fans reacting, the next picture I have is about. These are people supporting Charles Leclerc. Actually, I know Chris Dorner from Twitter. He's actually more of a Max fan. But anyway, on the 21st of September, he said, everyone at the team is disappointed in him. Ferrari did team orders so he could do an overtake and couldn't even give the place back to Leclerc. Yeah, he's referring to Hamilton not giving the place back to Leclerc. Then there's a guy called at Formuloshi, and that was in May. Let's please stop being bitter about our teammate. Absolutely, Leclerc has been robbed. But let's put our anger into Ferrari's incompetence. Yeah, he's reacting to Hamilton fans being bitter. Then there's a person called Scuderia Dreams, and this was in April. So Charles has known all along that there were issues. Instead of listening to him, yet again, the team has allowed him to be thrown under the bus. I am tired. And he's talking about how the team is listening to Hamilton too much, whereas Leclerc has all the experience in Ferrari. And then there's a username called El Predestinato. This was in March. Tears, man. TeamLH are finally realizing we're not crazy. This is genuinely your average Ferrari strategy, and why Leclerc has been robbed of God knows how many wins. Yeah, the Ferrari strategy team as clowns meme has been going around so often, and every year you think, there's going to be improvements, and every year you're surprised with the crazy stuff that you see. Although I think under Vasseur, strategy has gotten a bit better. Like, I haven't seen Charles Leclerc out on inters when everybody else was on soft. And I think it's been a while since everybody was switching. Everybody was doubting to go from inters to another pair of inters or slicks, and then they pitted Charles Leclerc and they put him on hards, so he was slipping and sliding. Those strategy calls I haven't seen under Vasseur, but there's still plenty of stuff that went wrong. I suppose now that the car is not capable of winning, they can do with their strategy what they want. It doesn't make a big difference. That's why I don't understand the swaps either. It's so hard to overtake in Baku in a DRS train that I understand that they tried, but there was not much point. So Charles Leclerc's fans are frustrated with the team. Hacker says, also, can we just acknowledge the fact that all of this fuss and bullshit is over P9 and P8? Yes, we can acknowledge that. I think the fuss would have been bigger if it was for a podium position or even a win. That would have been a biggie. Christina says, Lewis Hamilton cult under Ferrari post is the bane of every civil discussion. And I thought Saints fangirls were horrible. Yeah, I bet you missed them now, Christina. The pretty based, 55 lovers. They were pretty reasonable compared to TeamLH. And then Ivan says, the worst Ferrari strategy was in 2022, but it actually happened once with Vasseur in Canada 2023. Okay. Well, like I said, it didn't happen that often. Hank says the former head of strategy has been promoted towards Maranello, away from the race team. Okay, maybe that'll make a difference. Okay, let's go to the last one. This is TeamLH complaining about Charles. So on the 21st of September, Hammer Time said, but Charles putting out the info that team orders weren't respected. He's such a loser like that damn team. Charles knows those comments would be divisive. I see why this team is trash. I would also like to point out how the tone is completely different when it's TeamLH. It's much more direct. You know, those Leclerc fan tweets that I read out were much nicer. But yeah, we already knew that TeamLH was crazy. Here's a user called Wene, of course. On the September the 24th, Leclerc fans are trying to justify these team decisions, even though it's basically an elaborate scam. Hamilton was going to finish P8. Then Leclerc goes onto radio to bitch about it. Please respect yourselves. Okay, so you let your teammate by, knowing that if he doesn't make it past the other cars, you're going to get the position back. And then when it doesn't happen in the end, you're not allowed to complain about it. Okay, and here's the same guy again, that Hammer Time dude. Hope Charles' responses give the team a reason to do away with swapping positions. If you can't get by on your own, you don't get by. His response to the media and fans. Well, I actually agree with that. But I would have loved to see Lewis Hamilton try to get past Charles Leclerc. That would have been a spicy fight. So I hope that, Leclerc and Hamilton say, no more team orders. We're just going to fight for every position. And then we'll see. And then Versace on the 1st of June said, Charles Leclerc holy grilled yesterday. But hey, Ferrari sabotaged Lewis for not doing something they didn't even want to do for 16. TeamLH, man. Right, I'm not sure exactly what this is about. But yeah, the word sabotaged is in it. And that's something that TeamLH just loves to throw out there. And I'm always amazed how big these accounts are. Like, on Twitter, there's a girl called Denny Girl. And she became huge, like 12, 15k followers, because Lewis Hamilton replied to her a few times. People like to point out that she's a pedophile because I don't know, somebody posted a chat between her and a 13-year-old boy or something. I don't know, but that keeps coming up. Anyway, this Denny girl, she's got a huge account, but she does nothing but slander Lewis Hamilton's teammates and opponents. And then there's another account called Jordan, also huge account. Then there's a guy called Rob L. Myers. He's got a huge account. And yeah, these guys, they block everybody who has arguments against them. So yeah, I'm blocked by most of them because they don't like what I have to say when I go into discussions with them. And who else is a big one? No, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know at least 5-6 accounts that have above 10k followers, that are complete TeamLH nutcases. And that's all they do is bash opponents of Lewis Hamilton and praise Lewis Hamilton. I also saw negative tweets about Max Verstappen today, saying that Max was only winning today because that Ferrari was the fastest car. So that was nice. Okay, let's go to the chat. Hank says, "Dang, what an accusations." And Tamri says, "As much as I've seen, TeamLH is the worst." Yeah. Christina says, "Could someone please show me the radio where Charles was bitching? He was more interested in Carlos being on the podium." I think you can find this on YouTube. You know, Charles Leclerc radio. Hank says TeamLH is very, very bad. And Red Bull Baby says, "I get it. It's just P8, P9, but the points gap is 165 versus 121. This is going to matter in the end. He knows he needs to increase the gap to prove he's better." Yeah. The hacker says, "I think Lewis brought a papaya insurance policy before the Baku GP." So I take it you're a Lollipop fan as well. Inge says, "Can I say one thing? You can say whatever you want. This is a free space." Gentili says, "Social media is all about sensationalism. The crazier, the more views." And Hank says, "During and after 2021, the Max fans endured the full grunt of TeamLH's wrath." Yeah, well, I like how things have quieted down a bit now. And Outlaw says, "Can also be two or more things, Inge." Okay, Inge says, "Regarding Lewis Hamilton, we're all a bit on the same page, but can we please keep sweet old Roscoe in our thoughts? The poor bugger is quite poorly." Yes. I started this YouTube channel in the aftermath of the death of my German Shepherd. My members, they probably know this because I made a live stream about when I started and how I started. But Hugo Stiglitz was my German Shepherd. I had him for almost 9 years. And I got myself a German Shepherd puppy with the approval of Samantha because I had just quit drinking in 2014. And I needed a new project because I had a lot of free time because I wasn't drinking anymore. And I always wanted a dog because I was reading these books, you know, children's books about a German Shepherd, Snuff the Hond. That's what the books were called. So I always wanted a German Shepherd, and yeah, that animal became my bestest friend and my spirit animal because every time I felt the need to drink again, I just went out with him and it passed. But then in November, I think it's 3 years ago already, Hugo started drooling and almost vomiting, and he was really sick, and he started growling because he was in pain. And I took him to the vets late in the evening, and he said there's something big inside of him, and I don't know what it is. So we took him to a clinic, and they made X-rays, and it was a tumor about this big, and the chances of survival were so small that we decided to euthanize him, which was really rough because one day he's fine and the next day you're going home without him. But we decided to do this because the chance of him getting better after an operation was so small, and also we didn't want to let him go through the pain of all that with the chances being so small. Now Lewis Hamilton, I believe Roscoe is about 13 years old, and that's quite old for an English bulldog. So I think it's great that he's doing everything he can for that dog. But I'd also like to say that if it's that animal's time to go, then maybe it's best to let him go. Um, yeah, and like I posted about Hugo to my family and only on my Facebook to let my close friends know that Hugo wasn't there anymore. That's the only thing I did. Um, but I've seen loads of pictures with Lewis Hamilton and that dog. So yeah, um, I know what it's like to when your pet is sick and to lose a pet. I personally would have handled it differently, but yeah, to each his own. Okay, so that was the dog story. Um, Christina says, I gotta be honest, as someone who would like to see more talents in F2 having a spot in F1, I wouldn't mind if some older drivers got to retire. Yeah, I've been saying that for a long time as well. Like, I do enjoy Alonso and I enjoy Nico Hulkenberg and Lewis Hamilton. There's always something happening when he's there. But if you see how much pleasure these four rookies are giving us, Behrman, Hadjar, Antonelli, and Bortoleto, then yeah, why not throw a couple of new youngsters in? And this is why I was so disappointed with Cadillac as well. They're putting two second drivers, 35, 36 years old, into that new team. But yeah, that's a whole different discussion. Outlaw says, a dog is your best friend. Roscoe also didn't eat meat like Lewis, I heard. Yep. Pet owners have to be prepared to say goodbye to their pets. But the mourning is real. Yep. And Ivan says, yeah, I remember feeling really down when my cat in a countryside couldn't be cured back in 2013. And Polish Eddie, he's just boom right in there and he says, yeah, I wouldn't use my dying dog for a pity photo. Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but I understand the sentiment. Timefear says, I'm in Cadillac too, as they are a new team. Hank says the younger drivers have to push the older ones out. However, it goes with waves. Yeah. So I made it into the stream quite a bit with this little bit of Ferrari content. Quite happy. Is everybody looking forward to Singapore? And has everybody seen my latest video with 5 times Max didn't win the Singapore Grand Prix? Apparently, there's a couple of banger jokes in there that I didn't even intend to be that funny. That's always fun to see. There was people making clips of my video and putting it on Twitter. Let me check my Twitter to see if there's any news about anything. Okay. My chat's gone. Oh yeah, there it is. Christina says, just imagine if every driver on the grid stayed till their late 40s. F2 would be pointless. Yes, and one of the comments is already that F2 is pointless because the F2 cars and the F1 cars are so completely different. And there's no power steering, there's no power steering in F2, but there is in F1. And often you see drivers who don't perform all that well in F2 that are, are smashing it in F1. So yeah. Hank, if you miss my banger jokes, you don't have a sense of humor. That's the problem. Gentili says, if Max wins Singapore, then anything is possible. Christina says, not a fan of Singapore. And next year, even with the sprint. Yeah. I accidentally said that it was this weekend it's going to be a sprint. That was a mistake I made in the video. But yeah. It's a bit sloppy. I always like the look of Singapore. You know how they're racing at night and it's really warm and you see these athletes and they're all sweating, baby, sweat. Krr, krr, I. Oh, Red Bull baby, he's talking about for 5 stopping. Townfear would like to see some female drivers in F1. Yeah. If they're quick enough. Like, if you see how harsh people are towards drivers like Latifi and Logan Sargent and Stroll, do you think... Can you imagine what would happen if a woman comes into F1 and she doesn't perform like in the midfield straight away and she causes a few crashes? She's going to get destroyed just like all the other drivers, but for some reason when it's a woman, then the counter reactions are really extreme as well. So it'll be a big issue. I'd love to see women in Formula 1, but they have to be like ready. So competitive in F2 before they get into F1. I watched the academy races in Zandvoort, and they're a lot of fun. I think that's where it needs to start. I think if all the women who like motorsport, all the women who like Formula 1, if they started focusing on the academy more, yeah, then ad revenue and, the hype will go up for the academy, and then more money will be poured in. And with more money, the women can be trained better and they can be more competitive, and then they'll be ready to get into F2 and F1. But the thing is that like the stands in Zandvoort were half empty when the academy was driving. And I'll tell you something else. It was mostly men that stayed to watch the academy. And all the Lando girlies that were sitting behind me, they were in the dunes drinking their gin and tonics during the academy races. So, you know what I mean? So I think for the academy to be successful, the first thing that needs to happen is that all the women support the academy. And then the men, and then it will become big. Okay, that was a little bit of a rant about the academy. I'm just reading all the comments here. Christina says, I feel all the other F series are more fun than current F1. Yeah. Uh, uh, this is what often happens, that when the quality goes up so much, then the races become dull. You know what I mean? Um, you see that in football as well. Like, um, a lower division can be more fun because more mistakes are being made and then more happens. Whereas if you watch the Champions League final with two teams who don't want to concede a goal, you'll get these boring matches where two teams actually are more careful not to get a goal against them than to score a goal, and then you don't get these spectacular finals, which is annoying. Samantha says, after seeing Susie Wolf doing the Hello Kitty promotion, gotta say I was a little disappointed. Okay. Gentili says, also in darts there are tournaments where women participate in. Inge likes darts. She'll probably know about it. And Rebel Baby says, you're right, the way they dunk on Stroll, if a woman comes in and doesn't immediately perform at minimum Hajar level, they'll be crushed. Yeah. Oh, Richard means that there's a mixed darts tournaments. Thank you, Hacker. Thank you for the 40 rupee. I appreciate it, mate. I haven't seen Vegas yet, now that I got a super thanks. He's always so generous. Mm. Right, guys. I'm going to close off in a minute. I'm writing a video about a few comments from Zach Brown about Jos Verstappen. That's going to be my new next video. And I don't know what I'm going to do after that, but you know, usually it's race week, so new things are going to be discussed, and I'm sure I'll find a topic before the weekend. And then next week we'll have a live stream about the Singapore Grand Prix. Will be after qualifying, so we can discuss how beautiful Max's pole position was, and how awesome it would be if Max wins on Sunday. So just want to say thank you to everybody who joined. I think it was quite a big group today, which is nice to see. And yeah, it was fun. Take care now, everybody. Doei doei.